Yo, what's going on, Mathmech players? Today I thought we could go through something a little bit different together. So I don't usually make this type of content, but since a ban list has been announced and it directly affects Mathmech, I thought this was a good talking point, and I do want to hear you guys' thoughts. So firstly, this thing goes live on the 5th of December, as you can see here. And the only two cards that actually got hit for us are Diameter, which is a bit of a shock, and Cynet mining. So starting with Cynet mining, actually before I go into this, I just want to preface that everything I'm about to say is 100% my opinion. I don't want anyone getting butthurt over anything I say because you play 3 Cynet mining or 2 to 3 Diameter. Like, if that is the case for you, then I am sorry. This ban list really sucks for you, but bro, it is what it is. Like, you know how Konami are. Like, they're gonna hit cards that we like at some point, and who knows, in the future they may undo this because realistically Circular should have got hit here, but we'll touch on that in a moment. Now with Cynet mining, I used to play this card at 3 when I started Mathmech, but as I actually got to know the deck a little bit more, I found that Cynet mining at 3 was a lot more brickier than I wanted it to be. Now, drawing 2 is not a bad thing. It's semi-bricky because, well, you have to discard the other one, so it is -1 card economy. But at the same time, it's still, playable. But if you drew 3, which had happened to me quite a few times, it's just impossible. That is -3 card economy if it gets ashed, and even if it doesn't, having that third copy cannot be used. It does suck, I'm not going to lie to you. It is just one of those things where I feel when you play with only 2, it's impossible to be bricking at 3, which is, obviously God-given. They're like so easy to understand, but that's just how I saw it, and I always just play 2 from there because, yeah, even if it was only like 4 or 5 times, that was enough for me to be like, okay, I'm not playing 3 copies of this card. It's just ridiculous. And it may seem controversial because this card is a starter as well as an extender, because you can go into any level 4 or lower side burst monster, whether you're Salomon Great, Igniter, Code Talker, Mathmech, whatever, right? You can literally create plays from this card. But I just think having 2 is not the end of the world. So if you feel like you're heavily reliant on the third one because you need it to get into your hand more, then I feel like you could build your deck a little bit better and have more starters or more extenders naturally. So yeah, I swear there's an OCG deck that was posted that doesn't even play Cynet mining, just all starters. And that seemed to work for them. So either way, I don't think it's a big deal. Now, there are substitutes to this card. Now, you have Small World. That is always going to be in the game because with X Purely Noir being such a relevant top-tier monster at the minute, I think it was only fair for the community to all have access to a card that allows them to get into their Kaijus, their Kurikaras, to get rid of the, notorious Towers monster, which is ridiculous, by the way. Like, absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, either way, I don't need to rant on that. But I feel another card that people should really consider. I think if you know it, you either sleep on it or you don't know it, and I think it's a very good card. So I really feel, look, we'll go through it and then you can make your own conclusion another day. But essentially, 1, it's a quick play spell, which is going to be relevant in just a moment. Now the idea is that you target a side burst monster you control, you banish it until the next standby phase, so you do get it back, and you add a side burst monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than the monster that you banished. Now the reason why this is so good is because now with Diameter going to 1, it is ever so more important that we get the draw from Labyrinth to get Diameter, if you've secured Super Factorial from, Circular first, of course. Now the idea is, and this works for 2 situations, by the way, so I'll describe both of them. Now let's say you get Super Factorial from Circular through, have milling Sigma and bring it back, and now you've created Labyrinth. Now if your opponent goes to Effect Veiler or Imperm your Labyrinth, which it is such a magnet for, you can not only dodge the negation, but you will get an extra draw from Labyrinth. So because you dodge the negation, you will still get the draw for Diameter. Now, if you play pure Mathmech, you can get another extender, and it's almost as if you never lost Labyrinth in the first place, because you'll still get the Diameter body, and then you can add, I don't know, addition, subtraction, whatever you want, right? But if you play the Code Talker stuff or even the Firewall stuff like myself, for me, the Code Talker stuff is a lot more relevant. Then I can actually add the Code Talker monsters like Microcoder and then go into my Cynet conflict play from there and still have Diameter. And then I'll still get Labyrinth back the next turn. So if they do clear my board somehow, I still have a fighting chance because something returns to my side of the field, right? So I am a really big fan of a card like this. Now, it's not in my current Season 24 deck list, and I've got something prepared just because I feel with the ban list in place, and I'll be honest, I made my deck before the ban list, so you're going to see some very coincidental and lucky choices there, but we'll go for that in a minute. But look, this is great for dodging Effect Veiler and Imperm, but you have to bear in mind it's also good for working around Ash. Now if they Ash your Labyrinth, you're not gonna dodge the effect. Like the effect has been negated by Ash. So what you're going to do is you're going to just banish Alan Bershon and then grab Diameter from Cynet Backdoor anyway. So it's still a good trade-off, because either way, you're still getting Diameter, which is the most important piece of Laplation, arguably. And they can't Ash you twice. Ash can only be used once per turn. So that is the big thing that you're dodging there. So I do think this is a very good card in multiple ways. And the second scenario I was describing is, let's say you've made Alan Bershon through Defensor and Guardian through the one card combo of Firewall Defensor. Now, the idea is that you get Circular from this, right? If they Ash your Alan Bershon, now you just grab Circular from this, because Circular being 1500 attack, which is below the 2000 Alan Bershon, we basically achieve what we were trying to get through Alan Bershon anyway. So we're in such a great position because this card essentially secures your play. And you'll get Alan Bershon back later. I don't think it's something that you have to worry about. Now, the only thing that I would say does suck a little bit is that Alan Bershon is used to get Nabla from the graveyard, and that way you can get into your Diameter play. But look, that is just something that you are going to have to take on the chin. Maybe you can get, I don't know, Sigma in the grave and maybe have more extenders, but at least this card doesn't, deem your loss the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a good card. I don't think it should be slept on. I think there should be, heavy considerations that this card could be added in. So that's pretty much how I would sum up the Cynet mining situation. Now with Diameter, I have a few mixed feelings. I'll be honest, this is not a big deal to me personally. I play one copy of this card anyway, so yeah, not a big deal personally. But I can understand for a pure Mathmech player why this would suck, because the idea is that you have a second one for your following turn, or you just play multiple copies so you're more likely to see it in your starting hand. And I completely get that, but I don't know, it's not the end of the world. I feel like now you just have to consider different plays. Now you could play another addition or another subtraction to, keep the pure Mathmech line going, but I think the Code Talker stuff is a great support line to Mathmech. Like, you can still keep stuff almost pure Mathmech, and then just implement a tiny bit of Code Talker. But then, of course, there's the other line, which is Firewall Singularity, which is an amazing card, but it's just a preference point as to which one you want to go into. So I don't think Diameter being to 1 is such a big deal. I think Circular should have been hit to 1, and I know that's blasphemous coming from a Mathmech player, but you have to admit it is ridiculous how we have all these starters. Like, we have 3 Circular, 3 Defensor. If you play 3 Small World, you can play that. So that's 9 already, and then that's 11 because Cynet mining it too. Like, that's nuts, bro. That's a quarter of your deck being potential starters. Like, that is absolutely crazy. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy indeed. And then, of course, you've got, Parallel Exceed, 3 of those. Like, I'd count those as well. So that is literally, 11, 3, 14 starting cards. That is ridiculous. So either way, look, it is what it is. Like, you know how Master Duel is, best of 1. But yeah, that's all I can really say on the matter. I don't think we've been hit hard at all. I think the hardest deck that got, I think the deck that got hit the hardest was definitely Runic. And look, don't get me wrong, I don't like this deck at all. I don't like the idea that a deck is designed to deck you out by banishing all your cards. That is toxic and complete bullshit. But I don't think Runic Fountain was the problem. I think the actual problem were stun cards Floodgates, like Tikaboo. So there can only be 1. Skill Drain is ridiculous. And then as well as Goes and Match, and what's the other one? There's one that only allows you to play 1 type of monster. And I think, it doesn't really affect us, but in general, I don't like Floodgates. Now, that sounds controversial, me playing deck Lockdown, but the only reason I play that card is because you got to fight fire with fire. I'm sorry. I find it so unfair that so many decks rely on these Floodgates, and they're so free. Like, in a best of 1, these cards should not exist. In a best of 3, I may understand, because, you're not always going to draw it, and if you do, then the luck of a best of 3 is just, you accept it more than a best of 1. But in a best of 1, when your opponent has Max C and you don't have the out, it's like, of course they get Max C, and of course I don't draw Ash. But when I have Max C, they Ash. Like, it's just one of those things that it just feels like the game is against you, like very paranoid. So either way, I do feel like Runic did not need to get hit to 1, because now if we banish this through Cynet Conflict, it's GG's. Like, they cannot play through that. They're not getting this back. So it is what it is. Who cares? Dragonlink got hit pretty hard. These are actually quite important pieces to their board. So I think they only play 2 copies of this anyway. 3 copies, crazy. Okay, I didn't realize that. So they actually do play 3 copies of Chaos Space, and they definitely play 3 copies of Quick Launch, because these are just combo starters, and just such huge pieces into the actual, deck milling, excavating, and then There's just so much they can do. And then this card even allows them to draw an extra card if they don't get the specific piece that they want. They still get another chance to they get so many third and fourth chances in this deck. Like, it's a really strong deck. So these are quite big hits, but I reckon more will come at some point in the future. This is just to stop Utopia Draco Future. I would count that as an FTK, because a deck like that having such a prominent monster, like can't be destroyed by card effects, can't be destroyed by battle, and then of course it's a monster negate once per turn. And I think it even attaches the thing it negates to it as material if it was on the field. That's ridiculous. Like, and then having Expurely Noir next to it, like, kaijus are very popular, but lava golems are not. So it's kind of unfair that you're forcing players to have to kind of either choose between the two to get rid of, or to have lava golem. Now you can have Korikara, but in my experience, you use a lot of your materials and extenders to bait out interactions between Expurely Noir and Utopia Draco Future. I think that's the right name. I'm just going to call it Utopia. And then when I Kurikara'd both of them, I still lost because I didn't have anything else to actually OTK with, and they had so many resources. Like, they got 3 quick play spells back from the graveyard, and then the next turn it was just, I scooped anyway, because as soon as I saw happiness, it was like, it was game over anyway. So absolutely pointless for us. But yeah, I don't think it's a big hit, but more will come in the future, so you'll see. And then Labyrinth. So personally, I don't feel Labyrinth really needs a big hit at the minute. But if they are going to hit something, they should either hit this and Chandelier, or they should just hit the normal traps, because everything in that deck is recyclable. So they don't need that many copies of the actual like cards. Now you can say, oh, but if you just ash it, it ends it. It doesn't though, because they have Big Welcome and Welcome. Both can summon the boss monsters out. And I've already done an actual whole video on this. Now I know it's a long video, but you can skip to the relevant points where you can look through gameplay, and it's just a very versatile deck. So I feel like if you are going to hit it, hit the normal traps, but the monsters to me aren't really that big of a problem. Like, if there aren't that many materials for them to put onto the board, then these cards don't really provide that much of an issue. But because you can play so many copies, then yeah, of course it's going to be an issue. Like, you can have loads in the graveyard and still have so much more in the deck to just set onto the field. So yeah, I think that's where the issue truly lies. But either way, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to talk through, these are irrelevant. These are just cards that aren't strong at all, so there's no reason to hold them at such a thing. I think this can go into certain decks, but these I'm not too fussed about. But yeah, look, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I don't really actually want to dwell on this too much longer. I'll show you my Season 24 deck list, and I'll tell you what, let's not actually be too stingy. So it's actually here. I'll make changes where I see fit. I do want to add Cynet Backdoor in, I'm going to be honest, but I'm really happy with how this looks at the minute. I think it looks super consistent, and I made this before the ban list came out, so I'm already quite lucky to be playing 2 Cynet Mining and 1 Diameter anyway. But anyway, guys, I actually want to hear what you guys think, so why don't you just pop down your opinions in the comments, and I will happily discuss it further with you there. So I hope you enjoy the video, and yeah, I want to see what you guys think, so I'll see you guys later. Take care.